first and foremost, we talked about the treatment of women, which is very important to us. We know that the treatment, the response to women and girls when they report rape, domestic violence, sexual harassment, and other forms of violence against them is not at all appropriate, and it has been uh, deteriorating as the months and years go by. So we had to talk about that from the time women are taken in and the treatment of them, and how sometimes they are not allowed the first hour procedure. They're not allowed to make the phone call. They're denied their basic human rights of being able to do that. And often when women go to make a complaint, they become the perpetrator. They are being questioned and so on. So all those things, and about DVROs, how breaches are not looked into, are not acted upon, how crimes of violence against women are not treated with urgency or as seriously. So those were things we talked about and what needed to be straightened out. And then we talked about community policing and how wrong messages can be passed around and so on. And then the next big one, of course, is the training of police officers that we have lost out on. So we're hoping to restart that. I had a good meeting with him about that, a good conversation with him about that if we can get back into the academy at recruit level and not just a couple of hours, but about at least 3 days that we used to have before. It used to be in the curriculum of the police academy, which seems to have disappeared right now. And they really needed proper training to be able to respond, sensitization to gender, to violence against women, to human rights around this and so on. So that's something that he said he will be looking into. So that is a big thing for us. And also then the qualifying causes that we need to look at, the community police who are going out into the community, that they need to be trained by people like us and so on. And then, of course, we talked about the leadership in the police force and what I have observed and the crisis center has observed over the last few years. And also about how the customer service is no longer there, how rude people are to women, and how they don't actually know their job. We talked about the lack of knowledge around the new laws on the Domestic Violence Act, the Crimes Act, and so on. And that needs to be straightened out. So those were some of the things that we talked about. And also march permits, that also featured quite a bit in the conversation, how we are finding it so difficult as a human rights NGO, feminist NGO, to get permits, and how we are treated when we apply for permits. Unless we reach out to someone higher up, we don't get the permit, and we're given the runaround. And then all the restrictions that are put on our marches and things like that. And that needs to be looked into also. So those are some of the things that we talked about, those things that were very, very important to us. And then also, we talked about within the police force, sexual harassment, domestic violence, and so on, and the zero tolerance issue, that they have a zero tolerance policy and how that is not being acted upon. So about how police officers, when they are accused of allegations are made against them on domestic violence, rape, and sexual harassment, how lightly it is taken, and the cover-ups that happen, not all the time, but a lot of the times. So, these are all the issues, because for us, the police are the law enforcement agency, and we can no longer make the excuse they're only human. They have taken up a profession of policing. They are there to look after us, to ensure that people are doing things within legal bounds. And when there are complaints, they need to respond to it, and they need to treat everyone equally, regardless of their gender, regardless of their sex, regardless of their race, regardless of their abilities, and of everyone, religion, and everything else. So those are some. So for us, it's very important that the police are above everyone else in terms of how they interact with the public, how they respond to them, and how they do their duty as part of good governance in this country.